If you don't know Tahiirah, well, let me just tell you a little bit about her. I'm lucky to call her one of my greatest friends. But she's on a mission, she says, to inspire others to grow from striving to thriving. She's the founder and CEO of the Hue Society and the Wine and Culture Fest down in Atlanta. She's been in every magazine that I read. She was in Wine Enthusiast, the Wine and Spirits magazine. She was in Vogue. She was in Ebony. What else hasn't she been in? It's for everyone. But this keynote, I think, is something that all of y'all should be really excited about. It's about kind of tapping into an emotion that is necessary for a lot of us to think about leading, think about parenting, thinking about surviving, thinking about just being in community. So here to show us how to do it scared, it's Tahiirah Habibi.
Oh, that's a nice picture. Good morning. My adaptogens kicked in, so I'm not nervous anymore. Speaking of wellness. So when Rania asked me to be the keynote, I immediately said yes because I love Rania and I'll do anything for her. And then I was like, shit, I'm scared. I don't know how to do that. And there was this little voice in my head that said, do it scared. And so that became the theme of this talk. So there's little Habibi. And I reference her a lot because if you look at this child, there's this level of determination in her face. You can't really fully see the picture, so you can't see the house that I grew up in, but there is some significance to that, which we will get back to. And so I have this thing that I consistently tell myself that I thank God for my fear because it means that I'm alive, right? It means that if I am able to let it out and get to the other side of it, which I always do, then it also means that I'm aligned, right? Because a lot of the things that we are seeking, that we have asked for, that we have called into fruition are on the other side of that fear. You can't stay the same to grow. And so I have this thing that I kind of go through, and it's called a release, right? And this is how I release my fear. And this is in no special particular order. Whatever speaks to you. And I don't have that much time, so I'm not going to be able to deeply elaborate on everything, but I just wanted to give a few tips on the things that have helped me to really fulfill my alignment with the universe and myself. The R is to remember who you are. I am the master of myself, right? Nobody can tell me anything about me. No one can tell me who I am or who I'm not. And those things are important to remember in yourself. No one can tell you these things. You have to decide how you want to move through the world, right? You have to decide, do these things speak to me? Am I doing this for me, or am I doing this because I want to be in alignment or in proximity to something that I think is a higher power than me? But when you remember who you are, you remember that you're the highest power that you're ever going to be, that's ever going to be in your life, right? You're the most influential person in your life. And so always coming back to that, when you feel scared and you feel like, I need to do this thing and I don't want to do it, that's the thing, remembering who you are. This is my mama. She was 65 in this picture. She's 70 now. And my mom, I was the daughter of what you would call in the 80s the neighborhood crackhead. My mom has had substance abuse issues my entire life. And everybody around me tried to get me to view her that way. I have always viewed my mom with so much love and compassion, and her humanity lives in me. And so there was a time when I was scared to love my mother out loud because I got teased so much. You can see I love my mama. Like, There is nobody in the world more important than her. And despite her issues, what I learned from just her existence is love. She told me she loved me. She's the only person that, oh man. I was trying to get through this. She is, I had a difficult childhood, but I never lived with my mom or my dad. But in spite of that, I've always felt her love. And so she's the person who taught me how to say I love you every single time I speak to her. No one else in my life has ever, every single time, outside of when I gave birth, but that taught me how to teach my daughter how to say, I love you. So she's the funniest person I've ever met, for sure. I can tell you some stories about Jesus and what they did to him. And, you know, she's also unapologetically herself, and she's a queen. So even though my mom was on drugs, you wasn't going to disrespect her. And she taught me that. Not intentionally. She never came and was like, oh, you don't let people. She just didn't let people, and I saw it. And I picked up on all of that. And those are the things that if you look at a person past, right, their faults, and we all have them, right, her substance abuse isn't any worse than your sugar addiction or your cigarettes or, you know, whatever we do, then you get to see the humanity and you get to grow and learn from what that looks like and what that means. And she has been the most important person in my life outside of my daughter, which we will get to later. The E is embrace. And I'm going to go a little bit faster because, you know, we kind of got to get through this. So the E in release is embrace it. Honor your fear. Fail every day with intention. You're going to fail. You're going to have to come to terms with that. You're going to fail at something, right? You have to wake up with the idea that, listen, I'm going to mess this up at some point, but when I start it again, I'm not going to be starting from the beginning. I'm starting from a new point. And that is the key. You're going to fail, and it's okay. You have to release the idea that failing is a problem. It's not. There is no perfection. You're going to have to move through it. And so, you know, when it comes, you got to cry it out. And, you know, one of my things, you know, tell it to get the fuck out too, right? Right? You're going to go through all of these things. You're going to vent. You're going to cry. You're going to embrace it, but do not allow it to lay bricks in the walls of your being and build all of these things that you just can't get past. And getting to know yourself again is always a daily practice. Right? We're all different versions of ourselves all the time if we allow ourselves to get past the fear in which we feel on a regular basis. That fear is leading you to the highest version of yourself all the time. Speaking of fear, this table should look, I mean, there should be an obvious thing here at the table. I mean, just me and a whole bunch of non-me's. This was the beginning of my wine career in Miami, which was, it was incredible, but it was also incredibly terrifying. And I had a choice, and I'm sure you've all heard the CMS story. If you haven't, it's viral from a couple years ago. It's easy to find. But, you know, I didn't finish my CMS certifications. I didn't go through, I finished the first one, and I had something very traumatic happen to me at that space. And I decided this wasn't my path. This wasn't for me. But at the time, there was such a stronghold in this industry on their power that I'd never felt for years, and no one knew this. I was terrified every day. I said, they're going to find out. They're going to kick me out of the St. Regis. I opened the St. Regis in Miami. They're going to kick me out of here. They're going to find I'm a fraud. I don't deserve to be here because I didn't get this one certification, because that value that they put on what this industry looked like did not apply to me, because I made a choice to walk away from it. And that was a failure in a lot of people's eyes, but for me, it was the embarkment of, is embarkment a word? It was, you know, I was embracing myself, and I knew I couldn't go any further with this particular space. And so I showed up for myself all the time. And this was it. But I was scared all the time. And I didn't get past that fear until probably 2018, 19. And then, you know, the universe circled back around and was like, hey, let me mention you in this. And I was like, oh, God. But, you know, it was terrifying. And so, you know, what do? You learn from it. What is this moment trying to teach you, right? Your fear is guiding you towards something. What is that? What is this moment trying to teach you? Are you able to sit with yourself and say, listen, this is important. I asked for this, and so in order to get this, I have to do that, right? And as long as it's not harmful to you and somebody else, you got to do that shit. Otherwise, you're not going to get this, and it's hard, and it's scary, and you're like, never mind, I'm actually okay with being right here. I don't want to move on, but you have to find comfort in knowing that you can live many lives, and trying to stay in this life with what you have going on now will not lead you to the next life in which is better. It's always an elevation, right? And so you can live many lives. You can start your job. You can start your dream job at 50, 60, 70. You can do so many other things. And you just have to understand that your confinement is not a prison. It's a prison of your mind if you choose to stay there. Otherwise, move along. And so the Wine and Reggae Festival, this is when I became an entrepreneur. I left the St. Regis, and I had started working at Michael's, and I had a couple other jobs in Miami, and I decided that I was actually really talented. And so when I said, like, I didn't get that CMS certification, I actually have an advanced certification. Not from CMS, though, from another place. But that didn't count to me because it was not what everybody thought was supposed to be. I have an advanced certification in wine. And I never talk about certification, so half of you probably don't even know that because it's not that important. What's important is what you do. And so I was very talented. I did a lot of things on the floor. I made people feel comfortable. I'm a good psalm. I don't have a problem saying that. But none of that was going where it needed to be, which was back into my community. And none of the people who I was seeing looked like me, and they were not benefiting from what I needed to do or these talents. And, you know, Angela Davis said, you know, when you get these degrees, when you get to town, you go out in this world, it's your job to bring it back into your community. And I always felt remiss because I was not doing what I was supposed to do. I was going for a check and not following my heart. And at this point, I put on a Wine and Reggae Festival in Wynwood. So I won't go into the full story, but let's just say it was successful because it was Black-centered, right? And we had never had anything like that. And so I didn't fully believe in myself at that point, and 3,000 people showed up, and I had only planned for 500. The space held 1,000, and when I tell you I never gave so many refunds in my life, these people dragged me through anything they could. And you know, my nervous system was a wreck for weeks, and I could have given up. I could have been like, you know what, F these people. I was trying to do something for them, but I took the accountability for, you know, mismanaging. I learned, I got my ass back up, and I kept it moving. So this was the first event that I did under my entrepreneurial journey, leading into the Hughes Society. Eliminate any value. Is this your fear or is it someone else's? Are these your voice in your head? Is that you? Or is that somebody else? Is that your parents? Is that your boyfriend? Is that society? Or these norms? Is that you? And it's a incredibly powerful thing to ask yourself, and I do this all the time. Is this my fear? Or is this somebody else's? Is this a projection? If you're an empath, that's an even deeper question, right? And so a lot of times what you're battling with is your inner child. And when you heal that inner child and you speak to that inner child and you go back and you tell that inner child, like, listen, you're good, we're good, we got this, you're good, I'm got it from here, then we start moving on. And so backtracking a little bit to the St. Regis, I This was one of the first major articles that I was in. And I wish you could hone in on that face, because that is not a real smile. That is what the fuck am I doing here? Because again, I still had that complex about not having my CMS certification, all of these other things, right? And so I couldn't believe that and this early in my career, right? This was 2014. I opened the St. Regis in 2011. I could not believe that this early in my career that I would have gotten this kind of recognition. I felt like an imposter. My imposter syndrome was through the roof. I said, oh no, baby, this ain't it. But you know what? I went and I took that picture. I was scared. I almost didn't. But I went and I took that picture. But I look at it because I'm really here like, okay, you got it. But you know, it was one of the turning points for me when I started to realize, like, actually, you are talented and you do deserve this, and you have to get out of your own head. And so, you know, you begin to affirm your authenticity. And if you know me, in this version of me, you know, I'm always talking about authenticity. I'm always showing up for yourself, always. I am standing here in Austin in heels and bright colors, and everybody is chilling, and I'm the one in heels. So, you know, I'm always going to show up as myself. But I enjoy this. I like getting dressed. So, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be. But, you know, a lot of people ask me, like, how do you conquer your fear? And the thing is to baptize the negativity in the success of knowing, and I say this every single day, y'all, everything is always working out for me, even if I don't know how. So if you don't have affirmations in your life, if you don't know and believe these things, then they won't. But you say it, even if in the beginning you don't believe, say it again. Keep saying it, and keep saying it, and keep saying it. And one day, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel like, yo, these things are always working out for me, whatever the affirmation is. Another affirmation is, I am powerful beyond measure, right? Universe, show me how good it can get. Every single day, I say these things. And when I open my eyes, this is the first thing I do. I don't give my day to anybody else. I spend time with myself. I have a lot going on. I need to make sure that I'm good. And you know what Jay-Z said? Nobody built like you. You design yourself. You design yourself. If you didn't recognize that quote, then I don't know if we could be friends. And so when I started moving into the Hue Society, when I decided, you know, that I had proof that this was a needed thing, right? Because everybody was telling me, Black people don't drink wine. Black people are not interested in wine. I said, no, we just don't see ourselves. I know people. We don't see ourselves. When we see ourselves, I promise this is going to work. And so if you look at this picture, this is at Essence. This is the jankiest event I've ever put on in my life. These are fake flowers. You see how happy I am, though? I did it. I was so scared, but there were no wine events at Essence. And I said, how is 500,000 Black women going to this space and no one's teaching them about why? No one's teaching them how to move forward. No one's teaching them how to use it as a tool. How is this happening? I was so happy, and it was janky. I'm telling you, so that white thing is some satin that I bought from Walmart, and what it's on is 2 clove racks upside down. And then I pinned the flowers. I didn't care, because guess what? It sold out. So it's going to do what it do. My events today, though, if you've ever been to my Wine and Culture Fest, you know, which is happening this summer, by the way, it does not look like that. But everybody, you have to start somewhere, right? And so if you don't believe in yourself enough to start, it's not going to happen. And the other thing is, you're safe. Fear is the most remembered emotion, right? We have lots of emotions, but you're safe. And that's another thing I tell myself every day, and I tell my daughter that. You are safe. You are safe. You are safe. Because a lot of times that fear, that apprehension, all those things, that's just your inner child. That is just your inner child coming up saying, listen, I don't want to do this. I've tried this before. I've tried to put myself out there before. I've tried to use my voice before. I've tried to have a big personality before, and it got shrank. Somebody told me that wasn't okay. Somebody did not validate that. You have to validate yourself. And remember that you are safe. And the more that you affirm that you are safe, the bigger your dreams become. And if your dreams ain't big enough, you're not scared of your dreams, they're not big enough, baby. You got to keep moving. And it's important to surround yourself with people who encourage that fear, because that's it. Like, if you have people in your life who are not encouraging you, who are not pushing you forward, who don't see you, it's time to start making some cuts. But that's another fear, right? You're so scared. We love living in our fear and like what this space looks like that we're comfortable in. We're so comfortable here that a lot of times we never move forward because we are scared of what life looks like outside of our trauma. You live there and it's good and it's comfortable, but you're not really comfortable. You're not thriving. You don't feel good. It's just comfortable. Comfortable is not safety. Comfort is not safety. It's just comfort, and it's temporary. Hey! And so when I say you surround yourself with people, right? Who make you feel good, who pour into you, who support you. These things are important. And this is going to lead into, kind of my final, release your attachment to the ending. That was a hard lesson for me. You're exactly where you need to be, and you need to trust your path and trust the timing of your life. You don't do anything else. And like I said, control is a comforting illusion. And so this is 13-year-old Habibi. That is not my daughter. That is my niece. And by the time she was born, I had been the older sibling, i.e. the mother, 5 times over. So this was number 6. So by the time I was 13, I was responsible for 6 other humans. Did not want children. I left. She was the last one born before I left for college, and I never came back. I said, oh no, this is not it. This is not the life that I want. And then I had a child. And as you can see in this picture, that child gave me hell, and she still gives me hell, and I love it. She does. She was born. She's very much me, untraumatized, right? And she's very assertive. She knows exactly what she wants. She's incredibly kind, sweetest human. If you ever met Sam, and you're lucky she's not here because she would be right here. But if you ever met Sam, she's the sweetest human ever, just naturally. But she also don't take your shit naturally. And I don't know if she get it from me or my mom, but she's not here for it. She's like, no, I said no, or no, I don't want to hug, or no, like she's very affirmed in who she is. And so you have to love that. But I was terrified of having a baby, right? I thought my career was over. The relationship that I had built for 3 years with her father had dissipated at the 5-week mark when I found out I was pregnant, and all of a sudden he didn't want kids. And so I did all of this by myself, in Miami, by myself for a very long time. And I went through it. When I first, when I was going through my pregnancy, I did a lot of healing because I didn't want to bring a child into the world and have her deal with my traumas, my shit, inadvertently or, intentionally. And so I did a lot of healing. But more importantly, I released my attachment to the ending, because a lot of my trauma with this pregnancy was coming from the idea that I thought I did everything right. I planned this whole thing out. Now I didn't plan to get pregnant because but I was in a relationship, right? I took the steps, which were supposed to be everything right. And then poof, it still blew up. And I could not get past that. I said, what the fuck is going on here? Like, have you not done enough? Like, I'm pissed off with God. I'm pissed off at everybody. Have you not done enough to me? Have I not been through enough, right? Can I get a break, please? I did not want to be a single mother. And it didn't matter what I wanted, because guess what? I'm a single mother. And it's the best thing, because that created this version of me. When I was able to release my attachment to the ending, it helped me to release my attachment to the ending of everything. When I released my attachment to the ending of that, because it was never about him, it was the idea that I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't want to be a single mom. I had so many single moms in my family. I didn't want to look like these things, right? Respectability politics. I could not be taken seriously if I didn't have a father, like all of these things. I I released it. That wasn't for me. That wasn't my path. This is it. It didn't matter. I planned this path out. Okay, the universe has something else. And so I embraced it, right? I went through the release, the full release. I had to do that. I had 10 months to get my shit together before that child got here. And I'm still getting my shit together on a regular basis. But I knew if I was going to bring her into this world, it was going to be a world that I was okay with, right? That I was okay with myself being in. And so when I say release your attachment to the ending, that applies to everything, because I promise you it will get better, right? If you let go of the idea of what you think you're supposed to be doing or what other people planned for you to be doing, which is another big thing, all of that, it gets better. And so, it's my little travel buddy. I was like, I can't go anywhere. I can't do nothing. Sam is with me half of y'all probably met Sam before. She is with me all the time. Sam has been to South Africa, Paris, Burgundy, Champagne, all over the U.S., London. Like, Sam is with me all the time. And she could probably swirl better than most adults, But that is my baby. Like she helped to create this, right? This leader, this person, this woman was a result of me moving into her. And so late bloomers still bloom, baby. Late bloomers still blossom. Remember that. You're never too late to do what you need to do, as long as you can get past the other side of your fear. And so this is funny. I found this random, Facebook sends you the things, and they're like, oh, it's like, I've been saying this for a long time. Like, the greatest mistake you can make in life is to continually be afraid to make one. That was in 2011, right? And I was going through it, trust me. But removing the idea that you need to wait for your brilliance, removing the idea that brilliance is safe. It's never safe. You got to stay dangerous out here in these streets, right? Stay dangerous. You need to be dangerously aligned with yourself, your purpose. Allow your fear to guide your path. Ignore that typo. Your joy and abundance. I haven't talked to my assistant after this. Your joy and abundance are, on the other side of that fear. I promise you. Like, I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. Do it scared.